Okay, guys, welcome back. I wanted to just go over this repair with you guys that are. I'm not going to do step by step. I wasn't going to. When I started this, I was like, no, this is not something that the average person should be even attempting to do. You'll find out if you do it. You'll find out it's really not very easy. So, this is on the kingpins on these. The link pins are pretty self-explanatory. There's these caps here. There's a shaft that goes through with a bearing on it, like this one. There's a bearing and a race. Inside here, there's a race. There's the bearing. So if you have one that's bad, the link pins, these BBT kits here, the best place I found, I mean, they have them at Wolfsburg West, but if you needed a pinch, if you're in a hurry, I would not be in a hurry. Check SIP One has these things really good if you're in the Northwest, or if you're in U.S. or Canada. Okay, it comes with all the bushings for the link pin or the kingpin. The link pin has a race and that bearing up here in the top. It also comes with a pin here. They also have something called the repair kit, which is this piece here, which is a knuckle up here that's attached to a shaft that goes all the way down to where this bolt is right here. This is a set bolt. This doesn't clamp down anything. It just goes in there and then stays in place to keep that pin from walking its way back out because it's pressed in there. So the pin that's attached to this thing has a pin attached to it, and it goes all the way through to right here. It's all one big piece. And this piece here is a spacer. Okay, these are your seals. Some people will actually take this apart just to replace the seals. Really difficult to do. So if you want to do that, that's up to you. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I'll just get this apart real quick and do the seals. No. So you also need a 22 millimeter reamer for this bushing down here and this bushing up here. There's two bushings in each kingpin set. The link pins don't have bushings. All they have is that bearing and a race. And make sure that the hole for the grease lines up. That's all you really need to do. It's really not hard to do the link pins. One of the things I would do if you're going to do either one is save your old caps. If you notice these are not shiny and new, it does come with these caps. The original ones, if you are really careful taking them off, you can reuse them, and they're a little bit stronger steel, and I just like the way they fit a little bit better. I had less issues trying to get them in than the old. Now these other pieces here, I forget what that is, a thrust washer, I guess. That you can replace with the new ones, and that's what they all look like that there. So anyway, on mine I only did the right side. I'm not going to do the left. That there's absolutely no looseness in the left. All the seals are there. There's no reason for me to take that apart. You know, we're dealing with either Volkswagen parts or we're dealing with aftermarket. So what would you prefer? I think I'd take the original stuff if it's still working. So I will tell you, there's a tool that's required to do this, and you can't get this thing in a press. You'll find out. You get it apart. What you have to do is press this section with that shaft off of this section down below, and it comes off this way. Okay, and so you could figure if you could put a bearing clamp or anything on here, there's no way to put anything to push down on here. So what the factory did is they had two perches right here. This right here is a perch, and that side there is a perch. I kind of knew this when I took it apart from looking at it, and I'm like, oh, there's a special tool. So I looked it up on the Samba, found the special tool, and of course made one. So, you know, like I said, this is not, the average guy is not going to just whip out and do this job. It's not going to be done. If you think, oh, wow, I could do this, that's why I'm not making a how-to or step-by-step on it. So just so you know. You guys who are really serious and do your own repairs, you'll make this tool right here. Let's look at it. Okay, this has a, so with the old race in, what I would do is I used an extension and I drilled this 1/2 inch hole. Reason I did that is because a 1/2 inch hole, to drill larger than that, the original tool, I think it's Volkswagen tool 233. If I remember correctly, if you want to look it up in the Samba, you can look at what the original tool looked like. It looks similar to this, but not nearly as crude, and a lot thicker steel. You'll find out that too. This is my second one, so just so you know, the other one bent, and it's because partly it's not just because the car needed that much. It's because there was a burr on the shaft, and I was pulling that burr through. So if you can imagine, that thing was not coming off easy. I tried heating it with a torch. It was not moving. It didn't matter what I did. It just came off really slow. In fact, this is the 3rd or 4th set of all thread that I used to make that shaft, which is not cheap, by the way. Grade 8 all thread is not cheap in 1/2 inch. So the original one was like this, and it was thicker steel. So it was like about 3/8 steel. You could make this if you had, I think, what is that? It's about 6 inches long. I think it is. These are 3x3s or 2.5 by 2.5. So this is 5 inches. So if you did a 6 inch long one, so if you use this 2.5 by 2.5, so it's too wide. It's too wide, so you'd have to cut it in the middle and weld it down the center, and use 3/8 steel. If you used a piece of tubing, that's what this is. Okay, it's the easiest way to make the tools. One piece of tubing. They have a large piece of tubing, and just cut it, and then take another piece of tubing, which I couldn't find the right size, and cut it to make this piece. Let me show you how this goes on. So if you're interested in trying to do it, if you're stupid enough like me, it goes on, and it fits on those 2 perches right there. All right, so it's a little bit more narrow than this is a 2.5 by 2.5. Okay, it goes on those 2 perches, and then what you do is with this shaft out, okay, you turn this whole knuckle, you turn this thing sideways. This has to be done in a vise. You turn the whole thing sideways like that. Let me back you guys up so you can see better. You turn the whole thing sideways like that. With those 2 things on the perch, then you put this other piece in the middle over that. And if you can kind of see it, as you tighten this up, it pulls this part up and then releases it from that perch. Because this will rest on the perch, and this thing could start to go upward. If you can kind of see, that's how this thing comes apart. So if you get one that's not in such bad shape, it should press off with even the thickness of this, which is 3/16, I believe. Yeah, it's a little more than 1/8 inch. So I think it's 3/16. 3/16 steel, and pull it, and you should be strong enough to get it off. And I did double the thickness on the tops of both of those things. This one I should have doubled the thickness on because it was spreading a little bit. So what I did is I just put this in a vise. So if you can see the bottom portion of this, I stuck it in the vise so that it wouldn't spread its way off of those 2 perches. So you have to get that off there, you have to grab onto this thing and slide this thing away from that. Only way you're going to get it off. So if that doesn't scare you enough, well, you send your stuff in to somebody and have them redo it. The problem with me is if I sent it in a place, what's it gonna be there, 2 or 3 weeks? I'm trying to camp this weekend, so yeah. I didn't think that the link pins were bad until I took it out and took it apart, or the king pins were bad. The link pins were loose, really bad. There was one bad bearing in the bottom, and it was just wobbling all over the place. and it ended up also having the lower portion of the kingpin that was loose. So there's nothing loose on the other side, so there's no reason for me to take that apart. But this ended up being bad, and I was like, well, do I want to do this? Not really, but I didn't think it was going to be that hard, and it was super difficult, and I had to make that tool. The tool took me a whole day to make it twice. It took me a whole day to get this part out, and it's because this was extremely tight. This part was not letting go. So anyway, that's what you're involved with. If you want to do it, you know, you can. But I'll just warn you, it's definitely not easy. It's not, if you're just a newbie, this is probably one of the jobs you should just send it in and have somebody else that has the proper tool. They have a specific Volkswagen tool to do them, and you pretty much need that unless you make your own. Now you can look in the Samba, look up link pins. You'll find a guy with photos and everything, made a beautiful one. Guy with fantastic tool maker. He made one just amazing. But anyway, if you're not that guy, you probably yours will look like mine. So anyway, that's it for that, guys. They have something. One more thing. They have something on there about in-play. Somebody said, and I think what they're talking about is the in-play in here. And just so you know, what in-play is for space for the oil. So what I did on mine is I greased it first. I just mocked it up and set it up, okay? Put this bolt in, tighten it down, and loosened it back up again. You know, you tighten it down by just moving this thing here. Like on your VW Bug, you move this here, and it tightens it with this one loose. So you loosen this one up, and then you can adjust your in-play by moving this, okay? So what I did is I loosened mine up to where that was just fairly loose. I mean, it was tightened up all the way and then loosened up and made a quarter turn or whatever. And then what I did is I greased everything. And then what I did is I tightened it down snug, pretty tight with the grease in it. Because you're trying to make space for the oil with in-play. That's what you're trying to do. And if you did it with this loose, then you've already got oil between them. So it should be fine. So anyway, if you're worrying about that, that's probably what they're looking at there. Same thing on the engine. When you do your in-play on your engine, the shims should be dry when you check your in-play. Then after you oil the shims and put it back together, you're almost going to check and have almost no in-play, because the oil is going to take up that space. And that's why they have 3 shims on an engine to keep the oil between all those so that it spins freely. Just so you know, that's why they do it. If you know why, it's easier to figure out how to do stuff. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. The next one, hope you enjoy this repair if you have to do it. And please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe and like the video.